with Deb Nelson, a professor of investigative journalism at the University of Maryland and a Pulitzer Prize winner during her career at the Seattle Times, Washington Post, and other newspapers. Deb, big picture question here. What is investigative journalism? What is leak journalism, and how are the two different?
Investigative journalism is the methodical, independent, and obsessive pursuit of what's really going on. That's different than leak journalism. Leak journalism is taking what somebody says and maybe doing a little reporting, but putting it in the paper or putting it on air. Investigative reporting requires you to do your own independent investigation. I once got a call from a Wall Street Journal editor looking for investigative reporters, recommendations for investigative reporters. And I said, well, what's your definition? He said, somebody who can get, who has federal sources and get leaks on federal investigations. I said, that's not investigative reporting. Investigative reporting is doing your own investigation, and hopefully the feds are following you.
Okay. Now, a lot of reporters want to do investigative reporting, but they have, many beat duties. Is it possible to be an investigative reporter if you're not the full-time investigative reporter in your newsroom?
I got my start in investigative reporting while working busy beats with 4 deadlines a day. And I developed my technique for doing investigative projects in that environment. You have to be very organized. One important technique is to stop when you're about to pursue a story. You get a tip comes in, or you have a story idea. Put it in the form of a question. What is it that I need to answer? Once you put it into a question, then break it down. What are the essential facts I need to prove to know I have a story worth pursuing? Not what is everything I need to pursue. What are 3 essential facts that must be true for there to be a story? Then where will I find those facts? And then which one of those facts is easiest to prove? And that's where I start. I start in between all my other duties. I identify that one fact that must be true and that's easy to prove or disprove, and I start with that. And if it's true, I go on to the next essential fact. If it's not, I go on to the next tip. Only after I establish that my essential facts are true, do I go to my editor and say, I think we have an important story to do. And then we lay out a strategy to launch a full investigation.
Okay, now you have it's a grid that help you with your story selection, where you rank stories from their importance, high to low, and the ease of getting the story, from easy to hard. How does that help you decide which stories to pursue and which to pass on?
That is a reality check for when I'm pursuing a project. So after I've scouted a tip out or an idea out, and I know what it's going to take to report it out, I'll chart it. The chart is like this. Hard, important, unimportant, hard, easy. And I'll determine where it falls on that chart. If it's easy and very important, then that's a no-brainer. I'm going to pursue that story. It's going to be a high priority. If it's really hard, but still very important, I'm going to do a reality check. Do I have the time and resources to do it? I don't often give up on stories just because they're really hard, but I won't drop everything to pursue just that story. That's a story that I'll work on in my spare time over time. I try to have a story in each quadrant. I'll try to have an easy but important story going. I'll have a hard story going, and then I'll have maybe a story that I can get done, a weekender that I can get done and throw at the editors if they're wondering where my investigation is and it's not quite ready. Okay.
And finally, is investigative reporting today easier or harder than it has been in years past? And if it is easier, are reporters out there taking advantage of that?
It's easier and harder. There are many more ways to get information. The internet has just opened up a world of information. But there's a lot more noise out there, so it's harder to find the signal. Another reason it's harder is that we become more ambitious. We're doing, I think, the best journalism that's been done in history right now in terms of quality, in terms of ambition. But because of that, it's a lot harder. For example, data has become an essential component of many projects. I don't think I've done a project that didn't use data as an important element for years. And that's made investigations so much more powerful when you can combine that human story, show the harm to people, and show that they're not alone, that they're part of a bigger pattern, a bigger problem. That's a recipe for action, for getting policymakers and politicians to take action and readers to care. So we can do that now, and that was hard to do before. Ida B. Wells did it, but she went from town to town to town documenting lynchings. Today we can do that from our chair, and it's had a big impact.